Hey guys, it's Angel. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we're flying A2A Comanche. Yes, technically again, but shh, I don't care. Now, this is a very important aircraft because it's the most detailed we've had yet, and I'm actually really in love with this thing so far. And I reviewed it, and of course I did a little tryout with A2A versus Parallel 42, but this is our first time really taking it for a good flight. And we're heading across to Hungary. Of course, the latest world update brought us this whole region. Let's take advantage of it. And this is one of the airports, by the way, that was included. This is Lima, as soon as it actually lets me out into the cockpit. This is one of the airports included. This is Lima, Quebec, Papa Delta. Prijedor, Urije Airport. I can't pronounce it. I'll include it in the description so you can look at how bad my pronunciation is. But this is our runway. 2,300 feet of concrete. And that's basically it. Otherwise, we've got a hangar or two. I do like airports that open hangars. They are wonderful. Adds a bit more to the immersion when you can pull in, even though not much room in this one. It's full of gliders. We've got a little tower there. Little restaurant area outside. Very nice. Jungle gym if you're so inclined. And hangar over there, which again you can't pull into because there's stuff there, but it's kind of cool. And we have a memorial there. And the gate and the little town. So it's quite nice, really. Nice to see this area looking quite pretty. More parts of the world we can really enjoy, so I'm looking forward to it. Let's get back inside, get things started up, shall we? Now, being the A2A, this is the usual realistic startup procedure we'd be wanting to focus on. Let's get that on. Let's open this. Let's make sure these are set where I believe they need to be. I should have fuel pressure. When I look here, I did not have fuel pressure. There we go. That should give me fuel pressure. We got fuel pressure. We have fuel pressure. Wonderful. Everything is looking okie dokie. Let's give it a prime. 3, 4, 5. Parking brakes are on. Mags off. Starter on. Mags on. Give it a bit of encouragement. Don't want to burn the starter out. Of course, it doesn't want to behave for me, does it? So we do have fuel pressure. We know that much. We know it's feeding fuel to the aircraft. And I always manage to find a reason to screw things up. Every single time. No matter what I do. And someone will be yelling at me what I did wrong. So I have got fuel, right? Yes, I've got fuel. Okay, wonderful. So we'll try again. There we go. Just took a little nuancing. I think I waited too long before turning the mags on. There we go. Okay, a little bit rough right now. Let's put her up to about 1200 RPM. Get some of this roughness out as we get up our oil temperature, which is quite cool. So we're flying today to Pecs-Pogany Airport in Hungary, which is about a 30-minute trip away, so we should be pretty good for us. And the RPM has jumped there. We don't want that. Looking for 1200 RPM. To heat the temperatures up on the oil and get this all nice and ready to go. So it shouldn't be too bad for us. We're looking about 80 nautical miles. Not too bad a trip at all. And we've replaced our little doggy, by the way, with the updated version of Got Friends pack. And as you'll see, there's nobody in the plane. Well, that's awkward, isn't it? Let me go grab the tablet real quick. Fuel and payload. There we go, we've got some people in the front. And I have my cat. As you can see him there. Slow the camera down here while I'm warming up my oil. Oh. Does it work because he went into the cockpit mode? But there we go. Hey, kitty cat. Yeah, kitty cat. I would not like to be contained in a small metal box with a cat that doesn't want to be there. As a cat owner, I can tell you this is not a good idea. Okay, so oil temps are coming up. We should be good for taxiing right now, so drop that down here. Let's get ourselves moving out, and do 1 notch of flaps to take off today. Switch my noggin on. Put the headphones on as well. Drop our power down here so we don't go too crazy. But shouldn't be too bad a trip. We should be there in a relatively simple amount of time. But it should give us a great chance to see some really cool scenery in this area. And it's one I've really not flown as much as I'd like to. And it's a common thing I say, but there's most of the world I would like to fly, actually. Because it's a very pretty place, the planet. It's nice to be able to get some of that, so let's not go too nuts there. Okay. This is the add-on livery from flightsim.to. I will include a link to it. It's quite a nice one. It's a Swiss livery. But it's quite a different style to a lot of the included ones, so it's nice to have some options. Already quite a lot of good liveries up there, so if you guys want to find some cool add-ons, all the options are there. Gotta say, of all the things we don't like about things like 2020, I will say it's made adding liveries at airports so much easier. Now, airports were always easy, but liveries required you to add them to aircraft configs and other factors, which was always a hassle. Now it's just drag and drop the same way, which is wonderful. So oil temps are good. We're going to get ready to rock and roll here. Maintain my heading. Nice narrow concrete runway here. Oh god, I've just remembered what I've not done. So let's take off while I hold my yoke onto my desk. Trim up. Pull my flaps in, pull my gear in, and then switch my head off while I quickly grab the clamps for my yoke, which I forgot. This is part of being a flight sim YouTuber, is you will no, I've got to go record that video now. And I put the yoke on my desk and I was talking to somebody, and I forgot to go get the clamps because I built with the help of my engineer neighbour, I built a wooden dolly essentially that holds my yoke, because the honeycomb yoke is quite a big unit, and on top of the desk it's not quite the right height. It's too high up on a desk. There we go. Let's turn the head back on. Hello, kitty kitty. Hi, little fella. It's adorable seeing him in there. But it's quite high up. It's too high up, realistically. And there are under-desk options that you can get for straight desks. I have a curved desk, an L shape, with a curve in the centre, so it won't fit. So we built this bracket that basically slots onto the desktop surface and has 2 little arms coming out at 45 degrees that, with the clamps that come with the yoke, attach it to the desk, and it acts like a tray that sits it lower at the accurate height, which is rather cool. And I've once again overshot my heading because I'm paying attention to talking, not to flying. Let's pull our power back here, by the way. About 22.5 there. And we're on course here, so wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Everything should be good for us. And we're on our way. 2250, bang on the numbers for that, and we'll drop the power back a little bit here to 25 on the nose, and I'll knock off my fuel pumps now. We are in a good position here, and it's really a matter of getting ourselves underway, build some speed up here, and get the aircraft cruising. We're still climbing really, so maintaining about 500 feet a minute climb. Drop the nose a little bit, we're climbing too steeply there, a little trim down. Set the weight off the controls and we should be good. So obviously, it's an amazingly well built aircraft. We already talked about this, we already know this. You all know the name A2A when it comes to flight sim aircraft. And they really do deliver. Honestly, there is not a bad aircraft A2A make. And I think that's very important to us because we get such a great product. And their first one really has knocked it out of the park. You know? They could have brought out 172, they could have brought out 182. But those exist in the sim. To bring something truly different and unique, I think has been a really important choice. Yes, we had this in FSX and P3D, but this isn't available yet in any shape or form as an aircraft for the sim, so it is great to have this as an option. I'll keep going till we're about 3,000 feet or so on this climb. Let's keep it about 500 with a little trim, and with what they've got talking about next, like the Aerostar as well, I'm excited to see what they'll deliver. Maybe we'll see something different this time around from A2A. Maybe we'll see rebuilds of their existing aircraft they've made for FSX, but new aircraft. Will we see a Super Cub rather than a Cub? Will we see a B-24 or a B-25? Both aircraft that were criminally underrepresented in FSX. Obviously the B-17 was amazing, but I'd love an A-26 or a B-25. Those would be wonderful additions. A C-46 maybe. All great aircraft that I think would really benefit from the A2A treatment. Obviously none of those are short projects, so chances are they already know what they're doing, and it would make sense to use assets they already have. The physical 3D and texturing models from their FSX and P3D aircraft were phenomenal. They still are. So why not use what you have? They have data, they have sounds. Those are important, and that can reduce the amount of dev work and cost for a developer. Because that's one thing people don't consider, is that it costs money to go record a sound pack, time to edit it and mix it. It takes time to go scan an aircraft model or to build one. So it takes a lot of time. And it's one thing we really have to factor in with these things, because it's not simple. All of that can add months to a project and thousands of dollars. Very, very familiar countryside here. It could be anywhere in the world. It's a very European thing, these little patchy fields. Almost the same everywhere. But of course, this is Bosnia and Herzegovina, down near the Aegean Sea. We're heading inland, of course, towards Hungary. So once we clear some of this cloud, we should have a fantastic view. Wide open flatlands and rolling hills. A signature of this sort of area. Okay, coming through nicely. Keeping our climb going for about 3,000 feet. We'll knock back the mix just a tad. Just take it off its peak richness. And we should be wonderful. There we go, 100 feet off our destination altitude. About 30 minutes left on the books here. I'll probably skip about 10 minutes in the middle of this so it's not as horrible for you guys. Because right now, flat terrain is not that exciting. Let's drop the nose down here. Level the aircraft off. While we can't see anything, it's one of those moments of having to pay attention to what we're doing on the controls. Just carefully trim it out. Take my feet off the pedals here so I'm not influencing the aircraft's attitude. One of those things you always do, but you forget you actually can take your feet off the pedals. It is allowed. Yeah. Because it's really uncomfortable to fly the entire flight with your feet on the pedals. Especially when you're just cruising straight and level, so a little bit overshot, but we'll call it good. Well, it's really flat and boring here, so we'll see a little bit when things have gotten interesting. So we're flying over the border right now between Bosnia, Herzegovina and Croatia. We'll cross a brief tick of Croatia. Croatia has like a tail that sticks between the two countries that separates us from Hungary, which we'll cross a little bit later. So we're not too far away. We're about 39 nautical miles out, about 15 minutes away. So we skipped a whole whopping 15-20 minutes of flat farmland. We now have the beautiful hills down below us here. Aircraft's chatting along really nicely right now. We're pulling about 157 knots over the ground, which is a pretty reliable speed. Now the autopilot in this aircraft is a bit of a weird one, because the instructions are very kind of clear once you actually read the manual, but it's a comfort feature of sorts. It's controlled through the tablet. We have our options here. Master, disconnect, alt hold, the different modes of the aircraft we can use through here, which are all explained in the manual. Nice and simple. I do love their tablet. It's one of the best features they have. Weird enough, I haven't used auto start or cold and dark yet, but I just started the aircraft. But a lot of the cool functions, like putting it up on jacks and be able to work the gear on the ground, it's nice to have. Of course, we have all our various engine functions, analyzers, and you can see it working here. That's the cool part, because this aircraft's actually operating. Notice how that was cooler than those ones? Yeah, weird, huh? Like, this is actually operating as it is right now. This is it simulated. Because it's being simulated. It's quite cool. This is how their model of the engine works. So we have one cylinder that's actually warmer than the other, cylinder 1. Looking at my numbers here, everything looks to be relatively in range, although I probably would... We don't have cowl flaps to open, so I can't really cool off any of the cylinders particularly. But in general, she's working as expected. Might pull back the power a little bit on a real aircraft, but I wouldn't even know this. All my numbers are in the green. I wouldn't know that cylinder 1's fire is running hotter or cooler, perhaps, than the others. So it's one of those things. A weird but interesting fact to be able to notice. We can see what our manifold pressure is, our cylinder air temperature. It's cool. Or carb air temperature, I should say. It's the carb air. This is our carburetor here, of course, the fuel air mixture there. Running through the system with our outside air temperature as well. Really cool details in the aircraft, including our electrical system here. Seeing how everything's working, the alternator, batteries, the amp flow. It's kind of neato. And we can see all of the breakers down there as well. Of course, this would show us the various test levels, which we're not doing right now. We've got our different spark plugs we can fit as well, which is very cool too. And the airframe functions we already looked at, so it's a really exciting way of making an aircraft because you feel like you're actually operating a machine rather than operating just a simulated model of something. It's not just a skin deep animation, it's not even the more systems intensive aircraft we have from other developers. It's frankly kind of unique in this way. There's really not a lot like this. So based on my analysis of the maps, we actually are reaching the edge of Croatia here. So we cross the mountains behind us. Back there. This flatland area here marks the border with Hungary. So we should have the big road there. Zigzag along terrain. That should be E661, I believe. Coming past Mitrovica. And we should be flying over Grandia? Or Gradina right now, I believe. Which will put a river just about off there somewhere. Yep, river. Cool. Okay. We are geographically located. How about that, folks? So our airport we're landing at now will have grass and concrete runways, so we're looking 2,000 to 4,000 feet of space. More than enough for this aircraft by a long stretch. It's 28 nautical miles, so about 10 minutes of flying here. So, leave it on autopilot for the time being, but realistically, we're not really doing much. It's nice and casual. In terms of our instrumentation, obviously I'm running this, but you can run the NXI or the 750 models if you have those. Kind of prefer these sometimes, I find them just convenient. But using the bigger touchscreen systems is really optimistic, or optimal I should say, not optimistic. Gives us plenty of things we can do with things. Now, so the head tip's on the low end here. But it's a little bit cool outside, so that's fine. Auto control, there you go. So there is actually functional controls beyond the tablet. I'm just being lazy by using this. So we have our altitude hold switch, disconnect, and there are various options to set our heading and other features. So there's multiple options in the aircraft in terms of how it works. Hey kitty cat, how are we doing? Yeah? I love how it's animated and breathing and moving. It just adds a little bit of nuance to things. Super awesome, actually. Alright, so 25 nautical miles. Should be somewhere over there, basically, off with the remote distance. Land's kind of similar here, but obviously we didn't see a lot of that change. We saw some updates, of course, to coastlines, rivers, and other terrain features. Mostly it's towns and cities that have been updated and changed to this region, but it does add a number of airports and a huge number of points of interest and features, so if you want to go flying tours, you can. I often find the actual built-in bush trips not super realistic. Oh, that's annoying me just like it would in a real plane. Let's get that out of the way. I like how it's moved down over the flight. It's wobbled itself down. Because I started off all the way up at the top. And now it's ended up down here. The little nuances, even like be able to move the vents around. It's the little things that make such a big difference in these aircraft. Just the little things. There we go. Just the little small nuances that really make the sim experience different. Point that right in my face. I'm so excited we have one of these finally. It does make a big world of difference. It really does. It's the little things. But by the way, the Got Friends pack that I have Kitty here from contains like 20 different animals now. You can have multiple different breeds of dogs. There's a single cat, unfortunately. But one's better than none. Again, I wouldn't recommend putting a cat inside an aeroplane. That seems like a dangerous combination if you like having skin and blood inside your body. I own a 5-year-old tortoiseshell, for example, and tortoiseshells choose violence quite regularly. They are often referred to as having tortitude. They are very opinionated cats compared to some breeds and colorations. Nearly all female, by the way, tortoiseshells. They're a genetic abnormality, so the only males that exist of tortoiseshells are infertile and essentially intersex, because tortoiseshell as a coloration is typically expressed only on the XX chromosomes. So it's a bit like having to have the right combination of genes to get a ginger person. Just not the same way, obviously, because there are male ginger people, we think. But as it stands, yeah, tortoiseshells are like 99.9% female when it comes to cats. So there you go. My little girl Diva is a name absolutely like her name, really is. She is the queen of our house, and she runs this place, no matter what myself and Mr. Avangel say about the matter. Right, we are 6 miles out, or 6 minutes out, 17 miles away, cruising at a fair clip. So I'm going to take us off autopilot here. And start us descending down a little bit. Let's drop the nose slightly. I'm going to pull the throttle back here because we're going to be gaining some speed, so I'll just actually, if I need to trim the nose down, I'll just drop some power. And we'll start descending. I'll just manage our pitch with our throttle, and we should be good. Obviously, as we get faster, we'll pitch up a little bit, so we don't want that. Might as well take advantage of energy to descend at the same speed, if not a tiny little bit faster, but also not burn as much fuel. Rather than descending at full throttle, just going faster, we can keep the same speed. A very obvious principle. This will only be my second landing of this aircraft on a normal runway. Theoretically, I've landed 5 times, including the insane bush flying we did on Tuesday, but in this particular instance, I actually haven't landed it normally very often, so we'll find out how well I can do. My first landing in the review was a little bit bouncy, so hopefully we'll do a better job this time by. I like to think I have a better grasp on the aircraft now, and she definitely doesn't want to stall very much. We have a similar low fuel state and only pilot and co-pilot, so, well, very light co-pilot, so we should be okay. 10 miles out here. Nudges in the right direction. Only a couple of knots within our cruise variation here, and our manifold pressure is down at about just under 15, so we're about 15 now. But we're still keeping our speed up here. So we're well into Hungary here, and it's still very similar terrain. The whole region is very much like this. It's a very European thing. America and places like that, you'll see huge farmers' fields, whereas in Europe you see a lot of patchwork, which comes from the industrial revolutions around Europe as they had cropped up, and the move from kind of different forms of farming to more densely packed countries where people needed the space. So farms were generally smaller and more of them, rather than the humongous American farms. Dropping through 2,000 feet here. I must say, it does look different to England, though, in a distinct way. And it's a beautiful part of the world. I'd like to find the mountains a bit more, rather than flying over just open countryside. But it's one of the nice things about flying in Europe. It's all very similar-ish. I could be over Germany right now. I could be over France. I could be over England. It all look relatively similar. 1500 feet. We'll pick the nose up here. We'll add a little bit more power. Let's balance things off. We've got the hills in the distance there. Still left of track, so we'll pull our nose around a tad. Under 10 here, so I think that'll be just ahead of us past the river. Oh, nose is coming up too much. We don't want to do that. That kills our speed. No, I was trimming nose up. I was telling myself in my brain I was trimming nose down, but we weren't. We were trimming up. So for those of you who were disappointed, of course, in the Phantom, I know we're expecting a new one, heat blur, and I know we are expecting our UH1 soon. I've had a bit of an epiphany, and this is a bit of a eventual vlogs or blogs, I suppose, moments, but I've been flying a lot of helicopters recently, and I've started to love them because I've discovered one important secret that's been holding me back. And yes, I'm still flying with yoke in helicopters, but that doesn't really hold me back as I thought it would. Rotor trim. Once I discovered rotor trim, my world has changed exponentially, hugely, absolutely significantly. It's a world of difference because when I'm not fighting the aircraft and holding my controls at a forced angle, suddenly it's all easier. The nuance of holding a hover is so much easier. Maneuvering at slower speeds, changing angle and direction is so much easier. And I'm having a whale of a time. I've mapped it to the button next to, or the rocker next to my fixed wing trim, and it works great. It really does, and it's made my life so easy. And now I'm flying the HS-125 around like nobody's business. I still find accu-sim's MD500 almost insanely incapable of being controlled by me. That thing seems to want to murder me at all opportunities. Maybe that's a yoke thing, but it works at least. Right, so we need to look for our airport. It's up ahead of us, 4.8 nautical miles. We've climbed again thanks to that little bit of a bubble with the trim. We'll start that descent again. And it should be ahead of us here somewhere. We'll start slowing down anyway here. Just off to our right, I suspect. I think that might be it over there. Excellent. But no, since discovering rotor trim, my helicopter flying experience has changed significantly. I'm having much more fun. I'm much better at it. Really, really having a good time. I'm looking forward to the Huey. I'm going to Vietnam the heck out of that thing. And of course, the Octas. Oh God, give me the Octas, please. I need my bush flying experience again. These valleys are very Central European. I love the style of it. Where you've got the valley area there, farmland on the top of those hilled areas. The forest remains in the actual sloped areas, and you've got the little towns. Just these little long, thin villages and towns nestled in the very bottom of these valleys. It's what can look like very flat terrain from above, but when you see it, you realise just how elevated the terrain is. And it's similar terrain that you'll find often in Ukraine, which is why it's so difficult for various terrain to be taken in various directions, and why you'll see fighting occur in certain places, is because having that high ground, even though it's not significantly higher, makes a world of difference over an entire area. Oh, there she is, right next to us. Okay, wonderful. So, let's pull the power back here. We're going to join the downwind on that side. Annoying buzzer can be left alone. We'll cross the tree line here and we'll use that for our turn to the downwind. Still a bit high up, but we're dropping down now. Okay, gears coming down. We're a little tight on the circuit, more than I'd like at least. It's getting quite heavy on the controls again. Something I had noticed. Put one notch of flaps in. Take some weight off it. Let's reset that. Let's reset that. Fuel pumps are set to on. Everything is configured as necessary for this stage of the landing approach. We are good to go. A little bit of power here. Don't need a ton because it trim out pitch sensitivity here. Its desire to drop its nose as we lose power. There we go. Balanced there, about 100 knots. We'll extend to this bend in the river and then we'll turn for base. Beautiful Hungary. Okay, we'll turn now. Nose drop with the flaps applied. Classic Piper move there. Cessnas tend to pick the nose up, Pipers tend to drop the nose down. There we are. Belfay. Looking good. I'll keep our power out here. We should be good at this stage. Now we'll roll it to final. A little bit high, but we should be just fine. This thing drops like a rock. Should be able to determine without gaining too much energy here. I still have this built-in habit of overshooting my base to final turn. But it's not the end of the world. With how draggy this aircraft is, it really does just drop speed and altitude very quickly. Power's been out this entire time from the base to final turn. I'm not going to put any in. I know what this thing could take when I want it to. Got a little bit washy there. That was my fault. Oh, dear God, that was horrible. I'm too used to bush flying this thing now. What have I done to myself? What have I done to myself? I'm too used to bush flying this plane. And I came in doing the nose high alpha there, keeping the power off, keeping the pitch level or just above level, and then applied power to round out, and I was a little bit too high above the ground, so we kind of dropped down like a fat person down the stairs. It's the most beautiful plane we've got so far in terms of GA aircraft in the sim, in terms of its detailing level, simulation level, and look at me. And not only did I abuse the poor thing last week, in bush strips, but now I can't even land normally. You give me thousands of feet of asphalt and I make an ass out of myself instead. No regrets, I suppose. I mean, the gear needed replacing anyway after last time, so it's fine. It's not like it was brand new landing gear and, you know, perfect condition. This thing's been abused. Then again, any plane out of Angel Flyers gets abused. It seems to be part of the course. Let's get a taxied in here. We'll take a quick look around this airport before we sign off for the day. I suppose really the whole point of this flight was more to try out a bit of the new scenery areas and also get a better grasp of how I feel about the aircraft. Obviously you've seen the review, you've seen me bush flight, but after having more stick time behind it, including showing you me doing it on the video, doing more normal flight procedures and just actually operating the aircraft, it's nothing like anything we've had before. It's really not. It's a full detail simulation, yes, but it's a full detail simulation only the way A2A do it. There's levels of nuance here we haven't got from even Black Square. I mean, sure, they make all the radios work to 40 billion menus, sub-menus and button presses that you could possibly want, but this aircraft feels distinctly alive in a way the others don't sometimes. This feels like it's living. Makes you want to look after it because it feels like you actually able to hurt it. There we go. That's very upside down. What have we got here? We have a factory that seems unrelated to the airport. Cool. Fuel stations over there. The roads outside. Farm down the road. Seems to be contained to just this area here. So we have, of course, general areas there. We have the terminal building, which is impressive. This actually has a terminal, but it is big enough to need one. More hangars, fire trucks. Really simple little airfield, but it is at least a nice one. And of course we have a couple of 1,000 feet of asphalt there. So it could take a small regional aircraft of some kind. And there's a big enough parking spot there that it could handle something relatively decent. Probably something once in a week or once a day commuter flight. But there you go. A2A's beautiful Comanche. Once again, hurt in its feeties by me being a horrible pilot. And really unable to find a flaw. I can't find a flaw with it. It's just good. If you haven't bought it, why not? I don't work for them. Go buy it. It's really good.